Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Sword and Tea, a TTRPG chat show where we here at Sword and Key talk to wonderful folks in the TTRPG community, game creators, game designers, musicians, artists, all those wonderful people that work so hard to make TTRPGs as wonderful as they are. I am joined today by El Chupalabras to talk about KOKOTÖNA, which is a fantastic new game currently live on Kickstarter. We're going to talk all about it. Um, Before that, I do want to say that this is a cozy stream, so you are highly encouraged to grab a cozy beverage and maybe pull up a blanket. If you have questions about the game that we are talking about today, or to Chup about game creation in general, feel free to post those in chat. I'll try to keep an eye on those, and we will address them. If you're watching this later on YouTube, you can always go over to the Sword and Key Discord, and we do have a channel there for Sword and Tea. You can always post questions there, and I will make sure that they are addressed as quickly as possible. For all of Sword and Key stuff, you can find all of our links at beacons.ai/Sword and Key. You can find links to all of our socials, Instagram and Blue Sky. We have our links to our Discord there as well if you're not already a member, and if you do want to post some questions in the Sword and Tea chat. We also have links to some of our wonderful charitable organizations that we support throughout the year, like Palestine Children's Relief Fund and Canaan Campaigns for Independence. We also have links to some of our wonderful affiliates. We have affiliates like Eldritch Foundry, who make custom minis no matter how weird and wild and normal and mild your TTRPG character might be. You can use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase of a miniature, or you can use our affiliate link if you're going to be getting any 3D modeling subscriptions. You can actually use our affiliate link to get a 3D model subscription, STL subscription for only $19.99 for 3 months. It's a pretty good deal. We also are affiliates with Long Dog Dice. Again, you can use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase. Long Dog Dice makes incredible dice sets. There's actually a custom dice set made just for Sword and Key. It has the Sword and Key logo on the D6, made for our Horizons Call game. You can pre-order that set or get your perfect set if it happens to not be that one. And again, use that code for 10% off. We're also affiliates with Hit Point Press, makers of Humblewood and Islands of Sina Una, Griffin Saddleback books, tons and tons of stuff. We have an affiliate link if you're going to be purchasing from them. I'm pretty sure they still have their October sale going on right now for their Heckna games, I'm sorry, and a number of their other big, bad, scary stuff. So check all that out. All that said, we're here to talk to Chupa today about KOKOTÖNA. So, Chupa, thank you so much for joining us. It's very great to have you here.
It's great to be here. I'm really excited.
I'm very excited to have you. I'm excited to talk about this really cool game that I think caught my eye right when we first started talking, and you started sending me some stuff about it. The artwork itself is very evocative, but then the concept of it was something I found very refreshing and not something I'd seen for quite a while, at least not done, I think, as well as you possibly did it. So,
Thank you.
before we talk about that, I am curious about yourself. Um, who were you in the TTRPG community? How did you get into TTRPGs? How'd you get into writing TTRPGs? What's your general background?
Well, I would say that I have always been aware of TTRPGs ever since I was a child, of course. And I always wanted to play them, always wanted to be involved with them. The opportunity didn't come until I was already an adult and I was working. But after that, I just started reading up on them, world building, thinking about the games that I would like to run, the games I would like to play. And eventually, I was able to have a couple sessions of D&D on a virtual tabletop, and I found it quite fun. But also, I found it quite interesting how much the particular DM tends to affect and influence how a game is being run. Because even though my first two sessions of TTRPGs were both D&D, they couldn't have been any more different from one another. And I found that quite refreshing when you compare it to a video game, for example, or to a book, because because this is collaborative storytelling at the end of the game, at the end of the day, sorry. So yeah, afterwards, I was introduced to Morkborg by my brother, who gifted me the Morkborg Core rulebook. And that's a funny story, actually. Both of us thought that it was a puzzle book. You know, one of those books that have like a solo dungeon. Each page has a puzzle that you have to solve with illustration or a text. Because, I mean, the art itself and the way it's presented is all quite evocative. So that's what we made of it. Until it took me like three whole reads front to back to realize that it was a TTRPG system. And I tried running it, and I was immediately hooked. I think that it's quite possibly of all the basic expert D&D stuff, derivative is one of my favorite TTRPGs. And eventually, I decided to start making some content for it. More specifically, I have been an artist, graphic designer, whatever you want to call it, for about, formally for about 4 years now. 4 years. So I thought to myself, well, if I want to break into the TTRPG space, I need to make something big. And that's when KOKOTÖNA started forming in my head. The project back then was still unnamed. I just knew that I wanted to make something that reflected my culture, which is of course the Mexican culture, but I didn't want to bring into focus the post contact period. So I wanted to focus on the pre-colonial history of Mesoamerica. Now, that, of course, was in the back burner with me compiling stuff, thinking of what would be nice to have, what would fit, what wouldn't, writing lore snippets, thinking of mechanics. And yeah, eventually I found Morkborg and decided, oh yeah, this is the system for that. But even before that, I was making some stuff that would show people that, hey, you can trust me, I know what I'm doing. And that was the first thing I released for Morkborg, which is what I like to call my portfolio piece, An Eternal Itch, which basically just exists to illustrate, to showcase my illustration prowess, the way I write stuff, the way I design stuff, and to get acquainted with the whole art punk and doom metal aesthetics of Morkborg. Afterwards, I was hooked and I released even more stuff that I just wanted to release, including a solo TTRPG called Dread Shrines. And now, after several years of working on it in the background, KOKOTÖNA is at a stage that I feel confident to bring to Kickstarter, and the reception just has been amazing.
That's really awesome. It's a really great story. Um, it's great to see like how far you've come. It's lovely that you have family members that inspired you to get into this game, to get into TTRPGs in general, and then inspire you then even more and more that, like I said, that itch just kind of kept driving you forward. Um, I will be
Yeah,
honest, I've never played Morkborg before. So I was very excited to read about this and learn more about the game because, like you said, it is one of those visually exciting kind of games. I mean, you know what you're looking at when you see the font and the page design and everything. And I really love that your product also is very much indicative of that. So I'm also hoping to learn more about Morkborg from you as we're talking about this.
of
Um,
course.
yeah, so you talked about how you really wanted to write a game that was evocative of your culture, your ancestry, the place that you call home. Um, Tying that into what you ended up making, Where were there any specific places that you pulled from? Was there any, because we're of course using the framework of Morkborg for this as well. Were you pulling from mythology, pop culture? What were some of your inspirations for creating KOKOTÖNA?
It was anything and everything, I would say. Um, I guess my jumping point was that always, since childhood, I was really into pre-Columbian myths, legends, and the archaeological sites that are all throughout the country. I was lucky enough to have visited many of them. I have been in Teotihuacan, I have been in Tula, I have been in Chichen Itza, Palenque, and many more. So yeah, I have seen these places, I have witnessed them and absorbed their history, their majesty. But of course, these places don't exist in a vacuum. So I also read upon them, read upon the people that built them, what they did, how they lived there, what they believed in, their myths, their legends, their monsters, their gods. And besides that, of course, there are the different pop culture depictions and things that have been influenced by this by these peoples. So KOKOTÖNA pulls from all of that, from my own imagination, and from stuff that I just think is neat, interesting. Like, to give you a few examples, um, back when I was a child again, going back to my childhood, we didn't have cable TV, and the stuff we had was always a few years behind what was currently airing in its country of origin. But the old children's game show, Legends of the Hidden Temple, that was something that I really liked to watch. And I mean, I was also a little bit disappointed that I myself, as a small Mexican kid watching this years after it had already been aired and cancelled, would never be able to participate. But the idea of this talking Olmec statue, that was cool to me. That DreamWorks movie, The Road to El Dorado, that's also another thing that made me feel happy and proud to see Mesoamerican civilization portrayed in the big screen. And there's other stuff that made me really mad to see portrayed on the big screen. Like, for example, Apocalypto by Mel Gibson. That's an absolute bullshit piece of colonialist propaganda. But I mean, still, there is inspiration to draw from that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I have taken the good with the bad, and all of that is reflected in KOKOTÖNA.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talk about these different branches of pop culture because you're absolutely right. I mean, even Legends of the Hidden Temple was fun and whimsical, but it also did very much build on, kind of colonial vibes
No, of
of
course.
Mesoamerica, where it's not about the people that are there, it's about the ruins that are there. It's about
Hmm.
going and reclaiming things that had a very Indiana Jones or like Tomb Raider sort of concept to it, but also ignoring that like those were people. It's not this ancient culture. That culture has grown and adapted, and I think that's something people in the US tend to forget because the culture that was here we didn't really accept. We kind of pushed our own and then didn't really have one, and so we look at other people's cultures as things to kind of claim and walk all over. And absolutely the Apocalypto was a rough movie. Um, but I do find it very interesting that you did pull from these real places as well, and again, your own understanding of things, and I think that's what can make TTRPG character or TTRPG creations great is when you pull from your own experiences on them. So we've been kind of talking around it for a little bit. And we've kind of said it in other words, but just I always ask people just to kind of put it out there plainly. Elevator pitch for KOKOTÖNA, for somebody that might be coming to to the game for the first time, or even to Morkborg for the first time, what are they looking? What are they going to get themselves into?
They're going to get grimdark, Mesoamerican, apocalyptic fantasy. That's what they're going to get.
Okay, perfect. So with the fantasy concepts of it, with the Mesoamerica concepts of it, um, is there anything that you would suggest that people know before going in the first time? Like, are there any primers maybe that you would suggest people have as far as culturally or with respect to understanding like the touchstones for people that might not be super familiar with them?
I'm afraid I don't understand the question.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me really rephrase it. And I think this is actually something in the plays test that you sent me. Um, you put in a great concept for the plea for intention.
Oh
And
yeah,
and so the understanding of, again, some people can come to games about non-white people and can approach them again in a colonial sort of sense. There's games about deserts and pyramids, and it's all about taking the artifacts from it. It's not necessarily about respecting the people that were there. And I think we get
right,
these.
right.
Yeah, you get things like Chilt, in D&D, which has a Mesoamerican sort of essence to it, but at the same time they throw in dinosaurs and tombs that you're supposed to raid and all these different things. So just really wanted to shout out the plea for intention that you put at the beginning, where it is just the highlights that you put there, the Chronicle of Consequences. It is a game about choices and the outcomes from them. It is not a tale of savages. It's not about these, like I said, characters draped in brutality. It's not a playground for colonizers. It's not a game for bigotry. And I really appreciate that, because a lot of people put in safety tools at the beginning, which is also great, but also putting in the primer to understand how to approach this game from a stance that might not be their own, I think is really important, especially when it does attach itself to a real world culture in the way that yours has a little bit more than some others do.
Well, I would say that, yeah, that was my intention. But also, it's important to me that a game is fun and that, and to understand this better is, it would be, it reflects on my decision to make KOKOTÖNA fictional, completely 100% fictional. As I have said, it draws inspiration from many places, some historical, some fictional, some respectful, some fetishizing. But at the end of the day, KOKOTÖNA is fictional. But it treats its fiction with respect. It treats its fiction with the idea that, hey, if these people were real, you should respect them. And since these people are based on real people, let's approach it from a place of respect. But also, KOKOTÖNA is not a serious game. Morkborg style games do not take themselves too seriously. So, yeah, KOKOTÖNA does have some dinosaur-like enemies, because there are some in Mesoamerican mythos, like the Axpalin. But also because I think it would be interesting to have some references to Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. KOKOTÖNA does have ancient ruins and dungeons ready to explore, but that's just because those already existed by the time of the Aztecs, well, the Mexica. The people from Teotihuacan, the Olmecs, all of these civilizations rose and fell before the Aztec Empire took place. So there is absolutely no reason for players not to have the opportunity to go explore an abandoned temple. Why not? Just let's do it from a place of respect and cultural understanding, not as looters or as colonizers. The idea here, of course, is that the world does not need to be saved. The world cannot be saved. So it is not a waiting for a foreign messiah figure to come and fix everything. The world will end and you get to be a part of it. Hope you like it.
That's great. I appreciate the clarification. And I think that's a really great take on it as well. Okay, so KOKOTÖNA using Morkborg again, a game I've not played, but an unserious game as far as like you said, as far as I've seen as well. So we have a Mesoamerican inspired world, or at least setting. Uh, Variety of adventures, it sounds like that are available. Um, let's see, where do we want to go next with this? Uh, when it comes to the setting itself, I actually really loved reading through a lot of the regions that you had, the divinities that you had as well. I definitely saw some inspiration that I recognized from a few real world and maybe even pop culture deities or entities as well.
Hell yeah.
Are Please.
No, you said hell yeah. That's all I said.
Yeah. Uh, were there any that you particularly want to shout out about them? I think they're all pretty great. I always ask people whenever there's a list of anything, if anybody has a favorite one that they made. So when it comes to the world building that you did with regions or with divinities themselves, are there any in particular that you might want to spotlight?
I love them all so very much.
That's fair.
They are they are all born of different things. Some are there because I needed a way to justify something in the setting. Others are there because I wanted to see something in the setting, but they are all they are all so good. Like the the tale of Metzteotl and Actocatl, which is featured on the core book itself, is, in my opinion, one of the best things I've written, because it feels real. It feels like a real creation myth, in my humble opinion. Um, and the way that it all fit together was really neat. The idea of the lady Nawasiwatsin, that also that also was something that was very interesting to me. Like, how do I design the magic system when the gods actively are hostile to people? Then where does magic come from? Well, it comes from secrets, from the Lady of Secrets. So that's how I designed her. Then it goes to the tribes, the different nations and peoples that compose the Teoteca Empire. I knew I needed a set of people that were expansionistic and imperialistic, like the Aztecs, like the Mexica. That's something that existed in Mesoamerica. That's not an evil that came from Europe. That already was here. So I needed to put it somehow. So I created the Mikowa. And why are the Mikowa expansionistic? Well, because they were born into a very dangerous basin. And eventually, when they conquered that place, their population exploded. So they needed to get out of there. They needed to escape that cage that the gods had built around them. And then who do they encounter? They encounter all the different tribes. The Aminime. The Aminime, it's actually a little bit funny. The Aminime are one of the tribes that I created as a way of conquistador proofing the setting, because there are so many arguments that people use to say, oh, the peoples of Mesoamerica were always primitive and they would not have been able to resist an invasion from Europe because X, Y, Z, etc., etc.
Right.
So the
The
anime
guns,
take,
germs, steel argument. Yeah.
yeah. So the anime exists to give an excuse for the setting to have mounts, which didn't exist back then. The Ostomeka exist to give them big boats, the Teposoa for complex smithing to be more prevalent, because it existed, but it wasn't as prevalent. And yeah, these three tribes exist to kind of conquistador-proof the setting. But of course, I cannot stop any player with malicious intentions that wants to, oh, well, I'm going to buy the book and run a conquistador game. What do you think about that? Well, there's nothing I can do about it. I put my
Right.
opinion on my disclaimer at the beginning, but if that's what you want to do, then whatever, go for it.
Right. Not the intention, but yeah, I think even like one of the first parts of the Morkborg website is like, hey, use all of it or take it, piecemeal and homebrew it. So I think that's inherent to all TTRPGs. But absolutely, I think the intention behind KOKOTÖNA is much clearer in the sense of having these again empires of Mesoamerica, these capricious or at least benign gods, and then the high magic of it that's all kind of grown and adapted from again the roots of Mesoamerican culture and lore and myth. And so to that then, and to the concept of magic in it, since you've talked a little bit about the gods themselves, the regions in which people live, kind of the expansion of them and the inspirations of this world. Where does magic kind of play in? You said that the gods were kind of providing magic. I guess, again, because I haven't played Morkborg, what does magic look like in this world that might set it apart from other settings or other systems?
The magic in KOKOTÖNA is, I would say there are two kinds of magics. The first, of course, is the different skills and abilities that player characters inherently have. Some, of course, could be described more as physical feats, others as instruments, but others are just clearly magic or spells. And there's also the ritual magics. Those rituals are how magic usually would look like in KOKOTÖNA. Now, they have steps, they have components, and they have glyphs associated to them. So the idea here is that while you are playing, you can be ready to cast certain rituals, start applying their effects in combat, outside of combat, and just be creative with them. To give you an example, one of my favorite rituals that I wrote so far was the Huitzilopochtli ritual. That ritual is named after an actual Mexica god, their god of war. That's an Easter egg. But I took the name of Huitzilopochtli, which is left-handed hummingbird or southern hummingbird, and I used it to create the idea of the spell itself, of the magic itself. So the name of the ritual is Huitzilopochtli. Its glyph is a hummingbird in flight. So what do you need to cast it? You need a hummingbird feather and the blood of your target. And that's important because it's the blood of your target. So it could be an ally or it could be an enemy. So you dip the feather in the target's blood and you mark their left hand with it. So what do you do with that? Well, for the next d6 rounds, this target gains 6 temporary hit points and +2 bonus to attack rolls. Pretty simple. But what about a ritual that is a little bit more ambiguous as to how to use it? Well, we would have, for example, the Mimina ritual, which is an arrow held by a ghostly hand. So, it is basically your typical spell of levitation. You just require a broken bowstring and a clear view of a small, normal-sized item. So you tie the bowstring into your right index finger and you gaze firmly into the item. And now you can move the item with your mind. And what does that do? Maybe activate a lever, maybe bring someone something, maybe it's used to slip something into someone's pocket. I do not know. That's the thing. You have to... I try to design spells that could be used for different things that wouldn't be stuck into a single use.
That's really fun. I love a utility spell. I think a spell is always great when it says, yeah, it does ABC. That's it. I also love a spell that inspires creativity on the player's part to think their way through how they could use this spell in a variety of situations. I think that's really cool. I always really celebrate that. So when it comes to then with spellcasting coming from characters or just magic being present in the world, then it sounds like there is kind of like you said, these two pathways for it. There's the direct and then the ritual, and then you have the again the ABC, and then the more utility spell part of it. When it comes to characters that then can cast magic, or characters in general, then what does character creation look like in KOKOTÖNA? And I don't know, again, I don't know if this differs from Morkborg, so I apologize if this is redundant for other people, but what are the steps we would take to make a character for KOKOTÖNA?
It depends on how in-depth you want to be with your character.
Sure.
But if you want to create a character, it takes only a few rolls to get a fully formed character. And I have several systems and shortcuts depending on to how much detail you want to apply into your player character. So the first step is to roll your name. In KOKOTÖNA, you cannot create your own name as it is. So this is to reflect some of the traditions from some Mesoamerican peoples, which is they were named using the calendar. So in KOKOTÖNA, first you roll a d12 for which month you were born, and then a d20 to select which day within that month you were born. So Derek, why don't you do that? Why don't you roll a d12
so I need
and
a 12 and a 20?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Choose these. Okay. So on the 12, that is it's a 9, and on the 20, that's a 2. Glad we're not playing.
A
2's
9
pretty rough.
and a 2.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were born in the month of Quetzali, and
Okay.
you on the day of Ecatl. So basically, your name would mean something like precious wind, but there is no explanation as to what the different words mean in the core book, because
Right.
I don't like writing translations for a lot of stuff. But in any case, that would be your name in KOKOTÖNA. The book tells you to be careful when sharing your name, because if you reveal your full name, your life force could be stolen or tainted. This is, of course, also based on the idea that your name reflects your spirit, your soul. Now, in total, having 12 months and 20 names, 12 months and of 20 days each just gives us 240 out of a possible 365 or 66 days in a calendar year. So that's why optionally, you can also, instead of just rolling your name in this calendar, you could decide when you were born. So on a D20 roll, on a 1, you are born during the Nemontemi, which is the term for the 5 days that exist outside a year. 5 or 6 days that exist outside a year. And there's another roll table for that, for your names. Or maybe on a 2, from 2 to 14, you were born on a normal calendar day, on the Tokai Powali, which is of course the name that you just rolled. And on a 15 to 20, that's a different thing. You were born during a flower war. So that means that when you come of age, you are doomed to participate on a flower war. And I have a whole funnel to create characters that are based on these ritual gladiators, with its own
really
list of
interesting.
names.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love that. I'm sorry, please, I keep interrupting you. Please go.
No, go ahead.
I really love the concept of kind of that liminal space as well. While like you said, players don't like pick their names, they don't create their names, having the option like based on your role to then make the decision as to when. I just love tables. I think tables are great. I think all TTRPG books should have tables. I love having things to select from, even if you don't go with them. But in this one, kind of binding players to that and providing them with that name that then they can play into or play off of, I think is really great.
Afterwards, you would roll your tribal ancestry. So you would roll a d8. Do you want to keep going, or should I just read the different steps?
No, please, let's go through the steps. I always love going through character creation because I know for everybody that isn't the GM, that's the one thing they're always looking for first.
Okay, so roll me a d8.
Okay. That's a 5.
A 5. Okay, so you were born on Ixtlahuaco, which is the region of the Yaota. The Yaota are people that value military prowess and might and the virtue of honorable combat. They are a warrior people that live in a harsh, arid plain. So what does that mean for your character? What does that translate to in numbers? Well, it means that due to the circumstances of your birth and how you were molded by this culture, you will have a bonus on agility and strength, just a small +1 on that. But if you were born, for example, at a different region, if you were born on Sectlan, which is a frozen wasteland with some tundra surrounding it, well, in that kind of environment, what is valued is the swiftness to go from place to place in the cold and the resilience to withstand that. So that means that your bonuses would be agility and toughness. But what happens if you were not born into one of these regions? What happens if you were fully absorbed into the empire? Well, you still have parents, and your parents still have to come from different tribes or different callings or somewhere. So, to reflect that, if you are born Teoteca, just a citizen of the empire, you start with a +2 bonus to any attribute score and a -1 penalty to another one. So that would be up to you to decide. So maybe your parents focused a lot on building your intelligence as a child, but they didn't pay much attention to how strong you were. because of their conflicting viewpoints on what to do as they were raising you. Or at least that was my intention while writing it. Maybe someone else can interpret it a different way.
I think that's great. And I really love the flavor text that you put on all of the tribes. You mentioned the Zeklan, which I think the phrase that caught me the most in that was it's you mentioned it's tundra. They have it's an icebound city, glacial caverns. There was the phrase it's halls lit by bioluminescent fungi and patrolled by masked women who move like winter ghosts. That's incredible. I Even if I don't have a character that comes from there, I so badly want to have a character that goes there and experiences that. Um, so yeah, I all the tribes have such cool various backgrounds to them, and I love that it applies to the aspects that a character then has numerically. Okay, so we have name, we have tribe. What comes next?
Next, you will start rolling your equipment. So each of the flesh bearers, the player characters in KOKOTÖNA, begin with a vessel, a mundane tool, and a rarity or relic. So let's keep going. Could you please roll me a d6 to see which vessel you start with, how you carry your items, if any?
That is a 4.
A 4. So your character has a basket, and that basket fits 10 normal-sized items.
Okay.
Let's keep going with a d12 for which mundane tool you carry with you.
That is an 11.
Ooh, an 11. So you carry a jade amulet. It doesn't have any stats. It's more of a backstory thing or something that you can sell. So that's something for you, the player, to decide, why does my character carry a jade amulet?
Yeah. Okay.
And finally, a d12 for the rarity or relic.
The D12. That is, what is that? That's a 4.
A 4. Okay, your character is turning out very interesting because now your character also carries, besides his or her jade amulet, also carries a ceremonial mask.
Interesting. Okay. I like the mask coming up again. Okay, so basket for normal size items, jade amulet, mask, coming from a culture of honorable fighters, kind of militaristic sort of culture. That's a pretty cool character to start out with. Any other steps that you want to shout out before I move on to my next question?
You could just for completion's sake, we could see which class you would roll.
Absolutely.
Or there's always the option to play classless, of course. That's a thing you can do. But just so we can showcase something, let's go with rolling a class. Now, to roll a class, you can either roll a d10 for the core classes. There are 10 classes that are core, or a d12 for 2 optional classes that require a little bit more involvement. They're a little bit more difficult to play mechanically.
Let's roll the d12 and we can maybe talk about those optional ones. I got a 7 on the d12, and if that isn't one of the optional ones, feel free to talk about those and maybe what makes them a little bit more involved.
Let's quickly go over option number 7, and let's talk about the optional ones too. So at number 7, you are a Scorched Armorer, and if I may, I would like to read the description.
Yeah, please.
So the Scorched Armorer is a crafter class. Within the heart of the forge, where flames dance like the fierce spirits of the underworld, you shape the very essence of the land's fury into instruments of war. Raw tin, green copper ore, and blood obsidian glass shards conform to your callous hands, as if awaiting the fiery kiss of creation. Called upon by the strike of your hammer, eldritch forgotten blasphemies echo and coax forth weapons that shimmer like the feathers of the turkey vulture, and armor that glimmers like the smoking mirrors of the gods. As a Scorched Armorer, you have attributes. You are formidable, which means that your roll for strength to determine your initial strength is going to be higher, but also you are burnt out, which means your roll for presence is going to be lower. And of course, there's the amount of HP you begin with, the amount of money you begin with, which kind of weapons you can begin with, a little bit of backstory for them, and the different abilities that you can have as a Scorched Armorer. Now let's talk about the optional classes. Let's talk about the optional
please.
classes.
Actually, I'm so sorry to interrupt because I'm scrolling through them right now. So I'm seeing that some of the other ones there's Artificer, Sorcerer, Hunter, and Warrior class. But one of the things that kind of caught my eye was the mounts. Well, actually, we'll get to that later. I thought that might have been attached to Scorch Armor, but it's not necessarily a separate thing. So please, I'm sorry. The optional classes.
The optional classes are two, and they require a little bit more involvement from the players because they have some optional mechanics attached to them. The first of the optional classes is the only way, well, one of the only ways to resurrect player characters. Player character resurrection is not a thing that happens too often in more board games, at least not with a lot of effort, as is with grimdark style stories. So, as a skull worshipper, as a necromancer, you are shunned by the Empire because this is a world that is sustained by sacrifice, by literal sacrifice. So if you dare take back one of the lives that has been offered to the gods, that's the highest form of blasphemy, the highest form of heresy. So necromancy is forbidden not only by the Empire, but by the gods themselves. So your mere presence is an affront to the gods. Each dawn, your GM will roll an extra catastrophe die. So you, by choosing to be a necromancer, a skull worshipper, you are dooming the rest of your party to have a shorter game because the world is going to end sooner. But also, you are helping them because if one of them falls, you can attempt to resurrect them, even though that still brings the attention of the gods and the Empire to you and your group. The other class that is optional is the Star Whisperer. And this class is optional because it requires keeping track of what day it is in game. This class basically implements the calendar system that we discussed before for rolling your name into an in-game timer. So when your character is introduced into the game, you again roll a d12 and a d20. And that is the day that your journey begins. And each day you will roll 2d8. And any result other than 1-1, so a double 1 on the d8, advances the day count by 1. But on a 1-1, the day is Nemontemi, so the day exists outside the year. And so magic is wild, spirits run amok. All magic costs are halved, rounding down. But any failures related to this test provoke spirit plague, provoke terrible consequences into those who cast in this time. And of course, there are also other mechanics related to this calendar. If a terrible catastrophe is rolled at dawn, so if the end times draw near and something terrible happens in the world, you, as a Star Whisperer, can choose to delay the effects d12 days into the future. But if you do that, once that day comes, there will not be one catastrophe awaiting for you. There will be two. But you can still do it. You can do it again. You can keep delaying the inevitable. But once that counter reaches 7, all of them trigger at once, and the game is over.
That's really interesting. I love that the optional classes aren't necessarily like, oh, you need prerequisites to get there. It's the assurance of potentially a shorter game or a maybe what do I say, a sacrifice for gameplay or perhaps even story, which I think is really great, especially if you roll up to the table and somebody's like, "Yeah, I'm going to play a necromancer." It's like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do that?" But I have to imagine as a GM, that's sometimes a gift that that a player can give you is to have a game that intense. Um, those are all really cool. I love the optional ones. I love that they are optional again because they can change the game more than perhaps even changing the character themselves, or at least change the style of game. Um, and the other ones are super cool as well. I love the at first when I was reading through it, I saw again Artificer and the Scorched Armor. I was like, well, let's wonder what the difference is. But the difference actually is really interesting. The nuance between the two of them and the way they both stand out very clearly from one another. And again, the way that any of them can fit into any of the tribes as well is very interesting. So okay, we have our character. It sounds like we've got name, tribe. We have the stats that we pulled from that. We have our equipment. We have class. Are there any other steps that might be included for character creation?
Well, once you have your class, of course, you roll your class ability. There is a
Right.
small backstory roll table for each class, so you can continue crafting who your character is and what they're doing.
Yeah, let me
You
pull that
roll
up.
your
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. The artificer is called a Ruinstone Rambler, which is also really great. I didn't want to necessarily pass that by. Again, the names on them are super great as well. I was kind of just saying the description for them, but Hunter being Foul-Wind Stalker, the warrior class being the Desolate Veteran, sorcerer is the Nahuatl. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Shifter, and then the Vile Blood Mender being the healer class. But we are looking at Scorched Armor. So let's see. So we've got plus D8 for toughness, weapon tail. So let's see. I'm gonna roll a D6 for the craft honors. And that is a 3. So the enduring teachings of your fallen master, or one of the honors. We have armorer's pride. So broken weapons or armor are abominable to you. Repair them by gathering a number of materials equal to their tier's die max roll. Okay. And then let's see. We've got obsidian tongs, spectral grindstone, heretical file, draining quench. These are it's all really cool. Um, okay, so we've gotten through that. Man, these I really want to play a Scorched Armor now. This is having read through all of them, and I always do I just love armors. Okay, any other steps that I might be missing for character creation?
we would have to determine your stats, your metrics themselves. Like so far,
Right.
we have your abilities, your a little bit of your backstory, but we need to get into the numbers. How strong are you? How agile are you? What's your presence? What's your toughness? And we could go over these steps to do so, but it's a little bit involved. There's some math here, but exactly because of that reason is that I added 3 attribute score sets that people can just, hey, you don't want to roll any of these dice? That's cool. You can choose A, B, or C. Your character can have a -3 in one stat, a 0 in another, a +1 in another, and a +3 in another, or a -2, -1, +2, +2, or a 0, 0, 0, and a 1. And as a Morgborg derivative, these attributes go from -3 to +6. But in the beginning, you can only get from -3 to +3.
Okay. I appreciate that you added a simplification aspect to it as well. I always love seeing that in and the additional things that are added to base games. And I think that's again one of the core parts of Mark Borg is allowing for people to streamline or to make it better. Um, One thing I touched on a minute ago, and I've been kind of championing the bit ever since. Reading through the mounts was really fun. I am a big lover of monsters. Seeing the Ahwazotl as one of the first ones, I love Ahwazotls. I think that they are terrifying and fun, and
Yeah.
I love that they are just big weird otter cats with a hand on their tail that they use to like trick people into drowning. They're one of my favorite Mesoamerican monsters. So I really loved reading through again the list that you had for mounts and for just like the creatures in general. Um, are there, again, I know that it's tough picking like your favorite kid, but are there any of the creatures that were listed there that are like particular favorites for you?
Again, another difficult question.
Yeah, I realize.
Hmm. There are so many that I enjoy and that I enjoyed designing. Um, in total, there are over 100 creatures in the bestiary, but the majority of them, well, not the majority, about, let me just do some quick math right here. There are 36 creatures, 4 for every region, and each of these 3 creatures has 3 variants, which is a weak variant, a normal variant, and a strong variant. So each monster could potentially be a boss monster with some tweaking. But my goal here was to create a diverse cast of monsters and foes and creatures so that every region has a creature or a foe, an opponent that is an intelligent humanoid, maybe human or maybe inhuman or monstrous, but intelligent. You can talk to it. There is a creature that is suitable as a mount, and of course you already mentioned the Ahwazotl. There is a mindless monster, something that is undead or savage or mechanical in nature that cannot be reasoned with. And there is something that is demonic, divine, or again supernatural. Each of the regions has one of these types of creatures. And of all the intelligent ones, I think my favorite is the damn, it's difficult. It's difficult to just choose one.
I realize. You can absolutely pick like your top 20 if you want, but I just didn't know if there were any that you wanted to particularly like show off. Because again, there's a lot of really, really cool ones in here. Because you have like the traditional, you know, like what I would call quadrupedal or more bestial ones. You have things like the more like witchy warlock sort of creatures or even vampiric. And again, I'm looking through playtests. So you said there were like well over 100 in the full product as well. So you know you've got the Aketspalen, which again I apologize for mispronouncing, which is like a crocodile snouted leviathan. Really really cool things. So definitely if there's any that you're like, if I was gonna put like a certain number of them on the cover, it would be these. Feel free to shout those out. I also understand it is a difficult question to name your favorite kids.
I would say one of my favorites, the one I do want to shout out, is the Shukoatl, which is a giant magma serpent with scales and horns of molten turquoise, inhabiting volcanic fissures. Their venom crystallizes into smoking jewels, and their iridescent skin crumbles into fireproof ash when shed. Ride one without the blood obsidian saddle, and its heat blisters your thighs to leather. And the 3 steps that there are is that it begins as an ember viper, and then it becomes a pyre snake, and when it's fully grown, it's a lava worm. And the Xiuhcoatl exists in Mesoamerican mythology as the weapon of Huitzilopochtli. It's not a companion, it's not a mount, it's a weapon. And I thought, well, maybe the weapon of a god could be the mount of a mortal. Why not?
I like that logic. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So really, really cool bestiary. Character creation seems streamlined and fun. Like I said, a lot of it can be picked up real quick, or for folks that might be wanting to dive more into it for longer term campaigns, which I know that Morkborg can do, one shots or longer term campaigns. How does maybe rule wise, because obviously the setting is unique apart from what Morkborg traditionally does. Are there any additional rules that you added to add to Morkborg, or to set aside your setting from the traditional rule set?
Sure, aside from the inclusion of ritual magics and mounts, I also have this system called, on the playtest document it's called ADRs, because the playtest document is meant for Morkborg players to be familiar with, but on the base game it's called ATL, I call it, which means water. But it also stands for adjusted test level. And the idea of ATL, the idea of the adjusted test level, is that depending on your rank and the rank of the opponent is the difficulty of the test. Morkborg, in my opinion, sometimes can get a little bit messy with how stuff is calculated, because some creatures will have on their stat block, they are 16 to hit, they are 8 to defend, and then it becomes like, is this creature one of those or no? So I thought that to simplify it, I would just make an attribute, a stat that reflected that, and that was rank. So your player rank is combined with the rank of the foe, and then added into the difficulty rating itself of the test, combat, or check that you're trying to make, to see if you are doing it at a lower level or at a higher level, or just at the level that is stated. So if your GM says, you are going to attack this creature that is really small and weak, and you are very you are a very strong player. So what do we do then? Well, let's say that you're a rank 2 player and you're facing a rank -1 foe. So we begin with your test level of 12, which is the base test level for all tests. Then you add the foe's rank. In this case it's negative, so we subtract, which is right now test level 12, and then we subtract again your rank. So 11 minus 2, that's 9. So you will be testing versus ATL 9. Your test level is 9. You roll a d20 and you test the appropriate attribute. But what if you were a rank 1 player? You begin with rank 1, and you are testing against a monster that could be the boss monster. It's a rank 4. But precisely because this is a rank 4 monster, it has a lower test level, which is 10. So now the test level begins at 10, we add the 4, we get at 14, we subtract your rank, and we end at 13. So you are going to test against 13. It sounds a little bit convoluted when I say it out loud, but it's really simple. It's just take one number, take the other number, and subtract them.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I think it's I I think it's always difficult to explain how to play games verbally, which is why TTRPG books exist in the first place. Or like even when it comes to like board games, I'm like, okay, so like if you do this and you do this, and it's just, just doing it, I think is sometimes the easiest. Um, I appreciate the simplification on rules as well. I again haven't played Borkborg, but I have heard there's a level of I think the term is crunchiness that goes into it. So any streamlining that can be done for a base TTRPG, especially to format it to a game that you've made, I think is great. Um, Chupa Kokotona is super cool. I love the time that you clearly put into this. I love the background that you put into this as well. I can definitely tell that you put, a lot of yourself and the things that are, kind of have inspired you, into this game while also making it fun and fantasy and approachable. And I think that's really, really cool. Um, for folks that might be getting into Kokotona for the first time, what is maybe one piece of advice that you would have for them? It could be for game runner, for the player, just for anybody who might be looking to back this on Kickstarter and playing this at their table. What's one piece of advice you would have for them?
I would say it sounds a little bit too simple, but have fun. Don't take this as a serious game for serious people, because the goal of this is to play pretend with some additional rules. So as long as you follow a bit of a code of conduct, as long as you are respectful to your fellow player, to your GM, as long as you respect the choices that others make, and you don't cheat, and you're helpful and you're patient and you are there to have a good time, you are going to find it. But if you come into this hobby, into this session with the idea of, oh, I'm here to break the system or break the story or impose my own view on it without the consent of others, well, you're not going to you're not going to provide a good time for the other peoples. So what are you even doing? You know. Now, what you gotta do is just realize that what you're playing is no different from any other fantasy game. Yes, it's a little bit darker and the monsters and classes have other names, but still, you're playing a fantasy game. None of this is real, but due to the subject that it is inspired in, it requires just a little bit more thinking, you know? Not too much, just a little bit more. And I think anyone can manage that.
I think that's great. I think that's a great answer. Yeah, absolutely. Playing with respect for it. I think Eva said in chat, Grimdark is supposed to be unfun for the characters, not the players. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's I think for any comedy or any just like any play style, again, we are just playing pretend with a rule set and dice. Uh, Having the structure to not punch down, to be respectful of the source material, and to be respectful to those around you is how fun is achieved. It's not fun if people are just like bummed out the whole time, or it's not fun if only one person's having fun, nobody else is.
Yeah,
I have that rule at my tables that nobody's having fun unless everybody's having fun, and I think it's a rule that more tables should a house rule maybe that more tables should adapt or adopt. Um, Chupa, is there anything else about Cooktona that we haven't discussed that I might have missed? Anything else before we wrap up our chat here that you think can't go unsaid?
Well, I would like to first of all thank all the people, including y'all, that have helped bring exposure into the game, into the campaign, because the response that I have gotten is far more than what I ever could imagine. When I was building the campaign, I built the stretch goals with the idea of, oh, it would be cool if we reach this, but I had never actually expected to reach any of them. I just set my goal of, okay, this amount of money will allow me to get KOKOTÖNA ready for production back when the release date is announced on the Kickstarter of February 2026. But now, thanks to the support of people, it has become something even greater. Some of the things that I really wanted in the game are now going to be in the game. And we're still just less than a week into the campaign. We're on day 23 and we already have 153 backers. And all of them have allowed us to unlock over half of our stretch goals. So I'm just really thankful. I would love to see all of the goals unlocked, but if it doesn't happen, I am already satisfied. So
Absolutely.
thank you all.
Kickstarter's been great. Yeah, so like you were saying, you have, as I'm looking here, I'm gonna refresh the page just to get accurate information. 153 backers, still 23 days to go. You hit your pledge goal very early on, which was great, but as you said, there's lots of stretch goals that are still available. So looking at the Kickstarter right now, which you and the audience, you can back at this time. You've got 23 days to do so, but don't wait. Do it while you're thinking about it right now. It is on Kickstarter. It is KOKOTÖNA. I believe you can type it in without the umlaut, but just in case, the link is in chat. It's also on the Sword and Key socials, and we'll talk about Chupa socials here as well. But you can always find it there. But there are some great things that you can still jump in for. So looking at some of the things you can get, you've got the you can get PDFs. And oh, one other thing I meant to shout out earlier, and I want to shout it out now. This is not going to be published in just English or just Spanish. It's English, Spanish, Portuguese, and I believe we're at the stretch goal to include Nahuatl as a language that this could be printed in as well, because that was at the 4,500 mark, and I believe you have surpassed the 4,500 mark. So that's really impressive as well, to publish it in not one, not two, but four languages at this point. That's not something we see too often, and I think it's really great to expand the potential for your game. That's really cool. Who do you have working on the language adaptations? Is that just you? Do you have other people helping you with that?
I am, of course, in charge of the English and Spanish translations. I am partially in charge of the Portuguese translation, just because my Portuguese ain't that great right now. But I have my wonderful wife to help me out with that, as she is, of course, a native speaker of the language, and has, of course, great dominion over English and Spanish too, so she's helping me out with the Portuguese edition. As for the Nahuatl translation, we're still in talks with some people from some communities in Mexico that will be helping us with that. These are members of what you call it, a government body. No, not a government body. It's the cultural department of
Sure. Yeah.
of Mexico, and I approached them to see if this would be something that they could do. I'm still in talks with them. I have some other people that I could go to in case this doesn't pan out, but we're still working on getting the Nahuatl translation ready to be made. Because again, this happened way too fast, and we're still working out the details on some of the other stretch goals, but most of them have basically been already covered.
That's really cool. Yeah, so again, looking at the things that, the different pledge tiers. You have VTT stuff in here. There's of course the core rulebook, physical and PDF. It looks like there are some early bird pledge levels that are still available. So like I said, don't wait. Back it now if this is something that you're looking to do. Um, I'm trying to look here. What are some of the stretch goals that are still available? What has not been hit just yet?
There are 3 that are still available to unlock. I'm afraid I cannot talk about the first one that is available to unlock because it's
Okay.
a mystery. It's a mystery stretch goal that is set to be revealed on the Day of the Dead. And
Okay.
it has something to do with that, of course, but I cannot say much. Now,
Fair enough.
the 7,000 stretch goal was also supposed to be revealed later in the month, but people hit it way too early, so now I had to reveal it. The 20,000 one, I think, is one of my favorites because at the 20,000 mark, I am able to commission more art for the game. Right now, as it is, we are budgeting conservatively for the stretch goals, the book, and all of the shipping expenses that will come with that. But I am still planning to feature illustrations by some very talented artists that I have linked. All of them Latin American, all of them I'm a huge fan of their work, and most of them actually I have worked with before on a previous game. So I would really like to see that happen because they deserve the they deserve the world. These people, they are so talented, and KOKOTÖNA would be greater with them in the game. Well, more prevalently in the game. The
Yeah,
last
and
one,
I'm sorry,
go
please.
on.
I was just gonna say, you mentioned earlier you do a lot of art already. Uh, all of the art direction, everything, all of the art that's currently in the book is all you, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
it's impressive. It's absolutely impressive. You can see a lot of it on the Kickstarter, or a decent bit of it on the Kickstarter. It's very very cool and definitely fits the Morkborg kind of like the vibe of Morkborg a lot, while also still standing out as being unique. I thought it was really great. Just want to shout that out. But yeah, it seems like this is kind of a solo project in a lot of ways. You did writing, art direction, all the design. That's really impressive.
Thank you, thank you. And the last goal is just it's basically just a celebration. It's a big milestone because if we were to reach the 22,000 goal, it would mean that the rules of the game itself, the text only of the whole game, will be available for free at launch. Now, it will be available for free eventually, yes. It is planned to be completed and released to the world a couple months after the release of the final illustrated version. But if we were to reach the 22,000, I would just immediately change the release to a simultaneous one. Because why not? It's to celebrate all of this, to spread the game, so that people can see it and play it, which is, of course, what Morkborg did when they released their bare bones edition. They released a free text-only PDF, and I would like to do the same.
That's really cool. I hope you reach that. You're already well on your way for sure.
Thank you, thank you. That's the hope. That's the dream.
Yeah. Well, to continue with that hope, again. Don't wait. Run, don't walk to the Kickstarter for KOKOTÖNA. It is grimdark RPG inspired by pre-colonial Mesoamerica. It is a Morkborg setting. If you have played Morkborg before and are looking for a change up to it, or perhaps you're like me and this might get you to play Morkborg for the first time, I think this is pretty great. And yeah, all funded in 3 hours. So with 23 days to go, I think we're well on our way to see a lot of really cool stuff. And it sounds like Day of the Dead is going to be a special reveal for one of the stretch goals as well. So that's really exciting. That's right around the corner. Um, Chupa, is there anything else, or if not, any place that people can find you online?
Yeah, of course. People can find me over on Blue Sky. I am elchupalabras.itch.io on Blue Sky, and of course, that is also my itch account where you can find the games that I have published before. Check out Dread Shrines, my solo TTRPG. Check out Sheltered, which does have a free edition. Check out Paraclassum, the trading card game in which I collaborated with the artist I mentioned before, and the Morkborg modules that I have published. All of it is right there for you to see.
Fantastic. Yeah, check out El Chupalabras on all of those socials. Check out the itch page. Do yourself a favor, go over to the Kickstarter, check out KOKOTÖNA, and play it. It's gonna be awesome. Having read through the playtest stuff, it's a really cool setting. A lot of care and passion has been put into this project, and you're guaranteed to see that when you pick it up for yourself. And yeah, and back it. Again, don't wait 23 days, go quick. And if you're like me, you're gonna forget if you don't do it right now. Um, thank you, Chupa, for joining us. Thank you to all of you in the audience for joining us for another Sword and Tea. Again, this is our TTRPG chat show where we talk to wonderful people in the TTRPG community, game creators, designers, writers, musicians, artists, all incredible people who make TTRPGs as wonderful as they are. And yeah, if you have any questions, um, please feel free, if you haven't posted them in our chat here already. There's still like a minute or two while I do all my nonsense. But if you're watching this later on YouTube, you can post those questions onto the Sword and Key Discord. There is a Sword and Tea chat in the server, and we'll make sure those questions get answered as quickly as possible. If you have anything you would like to know more about KOKOTÖNA or about game design or about Chupa's experience with them or art or any of that kind of stuff, we can get all of that addressed. Um, for myself, I am Derek Sword. I use he, him pronouns. Sword is my real last name. Yes, it's awesome. No, you can't have it. I have been your host for this. I am the sword half of Sword and Key, and you can find all of Sword and Key's stuff at beacons.ai/Sword and Key. You can find all of our links. We have our socials at the top. That's Blue Sky and Instagram. We also have our Discord link there as well if you'd like to be part of a great community. I'm a little biased, but still. We have links to some of our charitable organizations. We have a number of games that are going to be coming up here soon or have started recently that are in support of a variety of new charities. So our evergreen ones are Palestine Children's Relief Fund and Canine Campaigns for Independence. We have a new Monday game, which is in support of Trans Lifeline. And we have a game starting tomorrow that is going to be in support of World Central Kitchen. So lots of great organizations to put your money towards if you are looking to back great causes. We also have some pallies for a couple of games, which is how we tip our cast and crew for games that aren't necessarily charity based, some of our longer term games. For other stuff on there, we have our affiliates. We have a number of great affiliates like Hit Point Press. They make the Humblewood books and animated spell cards and Griffin Saddlebag books. They have plush, they have music licenses, they have tons and tons of stuff. You can use their affiliate link if you're going to be purchasing anything from them for your TTRPG game. We also are affiliates with Eldritch Foundry. They make custom minis. You can use code Sword and Key for 10% off your first purchase to get your custom mini of your character, no matter how weird and wild, normal and mod they might be. They have some really cool mounts on there, like giant spiders or like a dragon head that your character can be hanging off of. It's really great. You also can use our affiliate link for Eldritch Foundry if you want STL files. If you do 3D printing, you can get a 3-month subscription for $19.99 with that link. It's pretty great. We are also affiliates with Long Dog Dice. Jen from Long Dog Dice is absolutely incredible. She makes incredible dice sets, like these. Let's see if I can. Okay, yeah, they're very pretty. The light does not do them justice. The D6 actually has the Sword and Key logo on it. These are the official Sword and Key dice. They're a very vibrant blue with little flakes of copper in them. They are from our Horizons Call, our Nautical Pirate campaign that plays on Saturdays. But you can pre-order those, I should say, and you can use code Sword and K for 10% off your first purchase. But Jen also has added a ton of other dice. There's a lot of really, really pretty ones on there. You can get your perfect dice set, even if you don't see something that's like 100% what you're looking for. Jen does have forms that you can submit to get your perfect dice set made. Other than that, let's take a quick look at the calendar because we did have a slight change to our calendar. Coming up today at 3 p.m. Pacific time, where Horizons Call would normally be playing, we have a special one-shot of The Time We Have. That is with Mare and Jilly. If you have not heard of this game, it actually came across my social media before I knew that we had a couple of people playing this. It's a game of two siblings who are in a zombie apocalypse. One of them has been bitten, and it is essentially about like the final days, or perhaps them on either side of a wall, the final conversation where you know that one person is doomed and the other person is doomed to continue on in an apocalyptic scenario. It's very intense. I'm very much looking forward to that. So that is going to be 3 p.m. Pacific time in just a couple hours from now. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, we have the premiere of Nightmares on the Frontier. It is a game I am playing in, not GMing for the first time in a blue moon. So that is an Eldritch Horror Western inspired fantasy game using the Forged in the Dark rule set. And it is going to be great. We have a great cast for that. That game is in support of World Central Kitchen. On Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, we have Summer in Carcosa, which is a Monster Hearts 2 game. That game is in support of Trans Lifeline. And then the next thing on the calendar besides that is next Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we have our next Sword and Tea. We will be talking with Lime about Dawn of the Orcs, which is an Orc Central game, which is I'm very excited to chat about. After that, on the 26th, Monster Crush, the podcast that LD and I do about cryptids, creatures, miscellaneous monsters from myth and how smooshable they are, will be back. So we'll have our new episode out on the 26th. We'll also at 10 a.m. Pacific time, have Anika Neva's Placatic playthrough with Mars Colony, and then again, Nightmares on the Frontier after that. Gate Night, where LD Shadow and I play Baldur's Gate 3, will be back on the Tuesday. Which Tuesday is that? Tuesday the 28th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And then we'll have our next movie night for Sword and Key, which is on our Discord, on Halloween itself. Horizons Call is looking to be back at 3 p.m. Pacific time on November 1st, and November will also be the next time that we have a probably our applications out. Our next big charity campaign is probably going to be during December for Project Hopemas. So if you've ever want to play a game on this channel, that is look towards the middle to end of November for those applications. Discord's always going to be the best place to see those first. The applications always go to social media after we post them to Discord first. Okay. All that said, thank you again so much for joining us for Sword and Tea. Thank you again to El Chupalabras for sharing KOKOTÖNA with us and for bringing this very, very awesome game to our attention. Please check it out. Please go support the Kickstarter, and we will see you all hopefully again in just a couple hours for the time we have. But if not, we hope to see you sooner rather than later. Until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of others, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.
Bye.